So, welcome to 7th grade art class. This is going to be the first one where you're learning a little bit more about what you're going to do in the class for the rest of the semester. And so, if you haven't heard, school is not going to be in session in class for the rest of the year. And that is really sad for me because I didn't get to know a lot of you guys being in 7th grade. But I'm going to have you next year for one. And also, I want to continue getting to know you through Zoom. And I'm going to try to keep all of the projects pretty fun, pretty light. If you didn't watch the Zoom recording, if you weren't on last week's Zoom call and you didn't get to watch that recording, I need you to watch it because it's going to explain a lot of questions that you might have. Where do I turn work in? How do I turn work in? Where are my assignments? Where do I watch a Zoom if I miss it? And so that'll answer a lot of the questions that I'm getting to my email, as well as how to contact me and that kind of thing. Because right now I'm getting people emailing me work and emailing me questions, and most of those questions are addressed in those videos. And this is the first week, so I know it's really confusing because you have teachers doing things in different ways and a lot of different things being thrown at you. But I want to make it as clear as possible, which is why I did explain all that stuff in one video. And as things move forward, you want to make sure to keep an eye on your Google Stream, because if there's any updates and how we're doing things in class, if you lose the link to this call, anything like that is going to be in your Google Stream. And so make sure that you're keeping an eye on that, because that's where you're going to get all the information from me, okay? Every class replay will be posted by the end of the day every Tuesday. So if you miss the call, you're welcome to replay it. But I really recommend you being on, and here's why. If you're sitting at home and you don't watch this call and then you get the assignment, you're going to feel like, I have to do an assignment, and you're going to kind of have this resistance. And I think that if you get on the call, you're going to learn about the assignment. You're already going to have your gears turning. You're going to realize that it's not that hard. It's just about creative problem solving, and it's going to make you more likely to stay accountable to do it. Also, I don't know about you guys, I have not seen anybody but my husband for like 2 weeks, and so seeing other people's faces is actually really nice for me to be able to talk to somebody else besides my husband and my neighbor and the Amazon delivery driver that drops my packages off and stays really far away from me. Okay, so I want to see your faces. I want to see you in class. And I did email a lot of your parents, not because I wanted to be like, oh, gotcha, didn't turn in your work, but because I wanted to make sure that you guys all knew I have live classes, I need your work in, that kind of thing, because I just want to eliminate as much confusion as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and talk about what we're going to do this week. Again, if you didn't get your Zentangle in, try to get that in like today or tomorrow at the very latest, so that I can get y'all some grades into Google Classroom. I haven't been putting in those grades yet because a lot of people are missing them. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here. Y'all are, can't find your slideshow here. Hold please. It's going to be one of those things where we're just going to have to learn as we go. So it's Corona time for artists and creative to thrive. So I think that it's really important to consider the fact that the reason that I love art is because it can really respond to what's happening in our day-to-day lives. And so I'm going to explain a little bit. All of these people that you see on the left over here, they're all using creativity to adapt to this new normal of what's going on in the world. So musicians, for example, I don't know if you know who Neil Diamond is, because he's kind of an older singer, but he sings a song that's like, Sweet Caroline, ba, ba, ba. I'm sorry that you had to hear me sing. But he sings that song. He created a coronavirus version of that song that was encouraging people to have good habits. Social media, if you have TikTok or Instagram, you might see people like making cool stories or making cool videos, like the TikTok one that's like, boom, boom, dancing. Those are funny, and they're all about like our shared human experience, right? Artists, I'm going to show you in a minute how different visual artists, which is what I teach, are responding to the pandemic. Comedians are doing live streams from their homes with their toddlers in the background. I think that's pretty dang cool. And businesses, I take my dog to it's called Bark Bar, and it's a place where they serve food, and you can let your dogs play, and you can socialize with other humans. And of course, they're closed because of the other humans part, but one thing they're doing is they're making little goodie bags for dogs so people can drive through and pick them up. Like Orange Theory Fitness and different gyms are live streaming workouts, which that stuff is kind of cool because it's all about businesses, artists, creative people, or even people like you using creativity to adapt to the world as it is right now. So life doesn't start after this pandemic. Life doesn't start when we get to go back to school or when we get to go back to eat at restaurants. Life is still happening right now. It's just a new type of life. Okay, so it's just a new normal that we're adjusting to. And I think it's cool that even me, like, I looked up creative ways to spend time at home because I'm spending a lot of time at home. And so you might even be creative in how you're keeping yourself entertained. So art can give hints about the future and the culture that we're living in too. So think about 10 years from now when you're looking back on this time and these things that people are creating, the TikToks, the artwork, the comedy shows, the photography, that's going to tell future us, and it's also going to tell people that aren't living during that time a little bit about this time. So think about y'all who weren't alive during 9/11. I was, but y'all weren't. Like, you learn about that from different things that were created during that time, whether it be photography, whether it be textbooks, whether it be history books, video, that kind of stuff is how you learn about it. So think about the implications of the fact that we're going to be learning about this time in the future. Like, that's kind of crazy. Art can also incite people to take action. So just like the news and the media can make you want to create a certain, like, to do a certain thing, like wear a mask or wash your hands. Art can do that stuff too. And art can also make you smile. So it isn't making light of the fact that there's really serious things going on in the world right now. But one thing that I think is really interesting is the fact that everybody in the entire world has been affected by this. And so whether you're affected because you have to stay home from school or because you lost your job or because my husband has to wear like a mask and giant gloves when he goes into work and 6 feet from other people. So everybody's been affected by this in different ways, but we're all sharing our human experience in it. And the cool thing about art in that is that when you see art, it relates to you if it's about this, because it's something that we're all going through. So I'm going to show you some ways that artists and creative people are responding to this coronavirus pandemic. This first one is a celebrity nail artist. Her name is some word I can't pronounce, but she's a celebrity nail artist, and she is creating nail art, which is still a form of art, right? Based off of the idea of being clean and washing your hands and staying at home. And so this is her using a Purell bottle for design inspiration. So this nail is super clear. This one has Purell on it. This one has the advanced part echoed over here, and this one is using this refreshing to echo this part of the Purell bottle. Here, she applied lavender nails over a latex glove, which is all kind of talking about, again, being clean, sanitizing your hands, protecting yourself from germs, that kind of thing. This one is actually connected to her nails, even though it just looks like soap. Again, wash your hands, right? And so she's trying to use art and creativity to incite people to make people want to take a certain action. So these are all, this is my favorite one. So these are all the things that the creature comforts of home, right? So think about all the things that are keeping us entertained in this modern society with staying at home. You got your Netflix, your YouTube, your Instagram, your toilet paper. And so she's taken all those logos, the design from those logos, and a logo is just like the way a word looks on a packaging, right? And so think about Nike. What does their logo look like? What does the words look like in that logo? And she's adapting it to say, stay at home. So she's kind of making a play on those things. And I just think it's really interesting and kind of cool. So art is cool too, is because when we left school, we were talking about making those little zines, and I know we didn't get to finish those. You still got points for doing what you did, but we were making those little zines about a specific topic and talking about how if you look at those, it might make you want to learn more about something or take a specific action because it's pretty. It makes people want to look, and that's kind of what she is doing here. So this chalk artist, David Zinn, he's cheering up people in Michigan by making quarantine-inspired street art. And so it's not like it is in Arkansas everywhere else. In certain areas where I have people that my whole family's from Chicago, they can't really leave their home that much. And so that's the case in other places. A lot of people can only leave their home for grocery stores and pharmacy runs and things like that. And so this artist, before they went into their lockdown, he started creating street art that was kind of based on people being stuck inside. So this is like a little pig staring out of the brick wall. And this is where it says, I asked these guys for advice on social distancing. They were stumped, and it's because he made them on tree stumps. Look. And it's just something that somebody might happen upon, but it's cute and it's interesting. And here's like this dog, like it's on the sidewalk, and here's this dog like keeping social distance from everybody. So thinking about how he's using chalk, which is easily read, like easily accessible, and being able to, like, people would be able to happen upon that because it's right on the sidewalk, in order to make comments on what's happening in the world right now. Photographers are showing empty city streets and landmarks. I included these links for you guys in case you wanted to look at more of any of these artists or any of these artworks. I'm not going to pull up this one, but if you even just Google empty landmarks during COVID-19 or empty landmarks during coronavirus or empty cities, anything like that, you can find a ton of photography showing the emptiness of these places. And it's simultaneously beautiful and kind of creepy. So as somebody that travels a lot, I find it weird because in front of the Eiffel Tower, for example, this platform is usually packed with people. You can't get a clear view of the Eiffel Tower like this. So it's kind of cool that we're seeing these pictures of these places without human contact, but it's also like, wow, people are usually here. And that's kind of creepy and weird. But again, this is one of those things we'll look back on and have these photographs of, for example, school buses parked in a giant parking lot that haven't moved. And so it's interesting. I would recommend you check out this link, how that is going to play a part in telling the history of what's happening right now. And this artist, Jose Manuel Ballester, he's taking famous artwork and removing people from these famous artworks to comment on social distancing. And so this is a famous painting called The Last Supper. You might have seen it before. And he just removed all the people from it. Like, he removed the people from it because it's commenting on the fact that there's not people where there usually is people. Or, hey, that's a group of more than 10, so maybe not. So these are all people that are using their creative mind to respond to the coronavirus. Here's even a TikTok. It's an appropriate TikTok, no worries. Choose your courage. And so that's kind of a silly one, but again, they're being creative and sharing. Like, I know you guys have seen a lot of different media about it, and it can be really interesting and also make us smile. Art can be really meaningful when you're creating it about the world and the culture in which you currently live. And so, guys, like, it's really cool if somebody can go outside and paint a pretty picture of a tree. Like, that's awesome, but it hits a little different when it's about something that you can relate to. And so I think that this is a really good opportunity for people to make things. Art history spoofs have been used throughout history to comment on our modern culture. So this is a famous painting called the American Gothic, and as society progresses, people take different things and they put it into the same kind of situation as this painting that was created in the 1930s. So, for example, here you got The Simpsons, you got your Barbie and Ken, and you got your Hillary and Donald. So that was created probably in the last few years, right? And so think about how art history can be taken, this really recognizable thing, to comment on what's happening right now. Here's another example. This painting is called Girl with the Pearl Earring by an artist called Vermeer in the 1600s. And they took this really famous painting and they added a camera because girls would be taking selfies. If you did this right now, then maybe she would have a cell phone instead. They took it and they replaced it with the Simpsons character, and they're using, again, this famous artwork to adapt it to say something about what's happening in the world right now. This famous painting is by Edward Hopper in the 1940s, and he created artwork that was based on how people, even living in cities, could feel super alone, which is kind of ironic right now because that's what's happening. But he's sitting alone here at a restaurant or at a bar, right, kind of late at night. It's called Nighthawks. But nowadays, people might go, if they're bored or lonely, they might go to use the free Wi-Fi at somewhere. So that's how an artist adapted that artwork. So I keep having to move y'all's heads for the replay edition here. Okay, your assignment for this week is going to be to recreate the masters. So recreate a famous work of art quarantine edition. So the first step is going to be to pick a famous painting or artwork. Uh-oh. Somebody, make sure y'all's lines are muted. Is to pick something famous to recreate. So you have to find, though, and I'm going to show you how to do this, you have to find the artwork title, artist, and where the artist is from. Now, there's a few different ways you could do this. I would love for you to be able to upload both of them to Google Classroom, which is what I put here. But if you can't figure out how to do this, add a comment, make it the title of whatever your file is. Just somehow communicate to me what original artwork that you are basing it off of. Don't email it, put it somewhere in Google Classroom, because otherwise I'm just like, okay, cool, you have a blanket on, I don't know what to do with that. So be creative with this, right? And so I'm going to show you some examples, but use these examples as a jumping off point, but then make it your own with things that you have around your house. And you're just going to take a photograph of you when you do this. It doesn't have to be you. It can be you and a family member. It can be just a family member. It can be your pet. It can be just objects around your house. So think about how you can adapt an artwork with things that you have. And you might not have an idea immediately, you guys. You might have to look at these artworks and look around your home and really think about this. And this is all about using your creative brain to adapt to this assignment, right? And so there are hundreds of these photos on Google. Again, you're welcome. Photos recreate famous paintings. Google it, but then do your own thing based off of it, okay? These are for inspiration, not copying. So here are some, one of the museums, J. Paul Getty Museum, put this out as a challenge. And so here are some of their responses to it. And so maybe I'll say it again. This is a still life. A still life is something that people set up in their home, whether to paint or to draw. And so, or to even take a photograph of. And so somebody now put together stuff from coronavirus supplies to kind of echo what's happening in this photo. There's still like something on this side of the picture, right? That's kind of the same form. There's still a bottle of some sort. There's still kind of something that's rounded back here. There's something on a plate. So there's the toilet paper. They recreated this painting up here by thinking, okay, this guy is in these fancy robes, right? I have a robe at home, and so they put on the robe. He's reading a book, cool. He has like all these magazines back here, but nowadays probably wouldn't be using the magazines to get the news or to get any information. I would probably be using my computer, and so that's how they recreated it. This one is maybe not the best one, but it still works. So they created the form of a horse out of their laundry. You got your clouds, you got your horse, and you have some Trader Joe's bags because, grocery run. Trader Joe's is a grocery store to create this brown background. So look at the details of the photo that you choose and use that as an inspiration for what you can use around your home. Here's some more examples. Right here is a dinner tray from way back when. And here's a modern day dinner tray because we're all like, eating in bed now or whatever. Here is an old artwork, and here's it recreated with the family with things that are just like found around their house. Here, I like this one a lot because it has a dog in it. But they're recreating the way that this person looks over here. And these are just things like, this is a towel, okay? Like she didn't have this person's outfit. And this is like stuff around her house. So you can use a sculpture for inspiration. You can use a painting. You can use whatever you want. And there's actually an Instagram account. A really cool thing is that you can look up a lot of artists are posting things on Instagram, so you can see what people are making live right now. So this guy, this is the painting that he recreated it from, and he got the idea because he was on a Zoom call, much like we are now, and his hair looked really bad. And so he wanted to hop on the Zoom call, but he wanted to be funny about it because he couldn't find his hat. And so he put a towel around his head. And then afterwards, he was like, oh, it looks kind of like this art picture that I remember seeing. And so he recreated that art picture and posted it on Instagram. Then him and his wife started recreating other famous art pictures. So the first one that you see on this COVID Classics Instagram is the one that they recreated. And then if you go right, if you slide right, it's the one that it's the original work of art, sorry. And again, so like if you look at this one, for example, I'm imagining you don't have a green giant dress around your house that you could like use, and you don't have her exact outfit, and you don't have one of these giant hats, even though I'm pretty sure I do have a giant wide brim hat. But they're using Oops, I painted the wrong one. They're using things around their house to make this stuff, okay? So you have to be a little bit creative. And here's an example of, remember the one I just showed you, American Gothic. And so they're just using stuff around their home to make the same things, okay? So exiting. And again, I put that link in there so y'all can look at that if you want to. Where can you look for famous artwork? So this is the art museum that put out the challenge for people to do this, which I think is really cool because we're going to do the challenge, right? So it's the J. Paul Getty Museum, and you can look up paintings, photographs, manuscripts, drawings, different things from this museum because I included the link in that slideshow, or we can hop on over to Google Images. Ta-da! And you're finding lots of famous artwork. Now, one thing I want to mention is try to be creative in it. And so if I were recreating this image, oops, that's a spoof of that image. If I were recreating the screen painting, then I wouldn't want to just like hang out in my office and be like, and turn it in. Maybe put on some black, or like try to go to like a bridge, or like try to create some of the colors in the background. Try to take more of what is existing to make this as creative as possible and make it as detailed as possible, and add a little bit more detail in that. Sorry, I gotta exit all this because my stuff is blocking. Okay, so what are you gonna do after you do that? So you're gonna set up, you're gonna find an artwork, you're going to arrange something in your home to make it kind of echo that artwork, right? You're going to take a picture with your phone or your parents' phone, and then you're going to upload that to Google Classroom. And I'm going to post an image of, or a video recording, a screen recording of my phone on how you can upload something to Google Classroom on a cell phone. But again, you've got to upload them to Google Classroom instead of emailing me, because if I get emails from all of my 150 students with different artwork, it gets really hard to manage that and make sure that I have all those in gradebook. And if we're going to be doing this for a long time, then I want to make sure that we have a seamless way of uploading things. So make sure if you haven't watched the last video to watch the last video, and it shows how to upload on Google Classroom on a computer, but I'm going to share a video about how to upload to Google Classroom on a phone. So does anybody have any questions? If you do, unmute yourself real quick. TikTok trash and cringe. It'll be all right. I'm not asking you to make one. You don't have to have a TikTok. Okay. So that's pretty much it. If nobody has any questions, email me if anything comes up. But I'll see you guys in class next week. So have an awesome day.